President Ramaphosa was clear-eyed about what the continent needs and what Africa's expectations are of the international community, including global financial institutions.
We call for the suspension of interest payments on Africa's external and public debt. As the African Union, we are encouraged by the collaboration of the G20, the IMF, the World Bank, and the UN towards finding solutions to debt sustainability in developing countries. This pandemic has highlighted the urgency with which we must strive to meet all the sustainable development goals, but more importantly, goal 1, to end poverty in all its forms everywhere. For until we eradicate global poverty, we will always fall short of realizing the vision of the founders of the United Nations.
And as the Secretary-General called for greater solidarity and unity, urging countries to do everything to avoid a new Cold War, the United States went after China over what President Trump believes is its mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic, just as the US reached a staggering death toll exceeding 200,000.
As we pursue this bright future, we must hold accountable the nation which unleashed this plague onto the world, China. The Chinese government and the World Health Organization, which is virtually controlled by China, falsely declared that there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission. Later, they falsely said people without symptoms would not spread the disease. The United Nations must hold China accountable for their actions.
China's president again pushed back against stigmatization and politicization of the pandemic.
Facing the virus, we should enhance solidarity and get this through together. We should follow the guidance of science, give full play to the leading role of the World Health Organization, and launch a joint international response to beat this pandemic. Any attempt of politicizing the issue or stigmatization must be rejected.
While Russia's president poured cold water on African hopes for veto-wielding permanent seats on the UN Security Council.
Our thinking is that the Security Council should be more inclusive of the interests of all countries, as well as the diversity of their positions, base its work on the principle of the broadest possible consensus among states, and, at the same time, continue to serve as the cornerstone of global governance, which cannot be achieved unless the permanent members of the Security Council retain their veto power. Such a right, pertaining to the 5 nuclear powers, the victors of the Second World War, remains indicative of the actual military and political balance to this day.
Earlier, UN Chief Antonio Guterres warned against vaccine nationalism as it relates to COVID-19, advising against countries making exclusive side deals for vaccines, while pushing for broader buy-in into his call for a global ceasefire in order to focus the world's attention on building back better. Siobhan Bricepies, SABC News, New York.
All right, so for more on the opening session at the UN General Assembly, I'm joined on the line by SABC Foreign Editor Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, good morning to you. Let's quickly take a look at Russian President Vladimir Putin's statement on permanent seats in the Security Council. Let's begin there.
Well, yesterday, in a surprise move, the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, made a statement that the permanent 5 within the Security Council must continue to wield power. This is shocking when you look at the fact that the BRICS member countries, that is South Africa, Brazil, and also India, have been complaining, fighting to ensure that that institution is transformed and they are represented, because when you look at the population of the continent, it's 1 billion. And when you look at the challenges of conflict in the world, most of those conflicts are in the continent, on the continent, and therefore excluding the continent is a wrong move. You would recall that the formation of the League of Nations, South Africa was there, during the old regime, but you also had Africans who participated in the First World War. During the transformation of the League of Nations to the United Nations after the Second World War, again, South Africa was there, it's one of the founding members, and South Africans participated in the Second World War. Even Africans participated in the First World War. Many lives were lost. You'd recall the death of many black soldiers in the English Channel where they perished on SS Mendi when it sank. And therefore, you cannot continue to treat Africa as if it was just a bystander during the two big world wars. Not only those 5 countries played a prominent role. You look at India with a population of 1 billion, and then you look at South America, another continent that is not represented, and therefore you cannot claim that the Security Council will protect the interest of all regions with that exclusion. And therefore the statement of Vladimir Putin will be received with a heavy heart from those countries. And Putin, knowing exactly what South Africa wants. It's not the first time. When he was still the president of that country, that is Russia, during the time of Mbeki. Mbeki also at that time was pushing for the transformation of the Security Council. Zuma did the same. And now President Ramaphosa is doing the same. And therefore, it was quite strange to hear Vladimir Putin making such statements.
Yeah, I would like to have spoken to you a little bit about Trump and his particular delivery and blaming China. I mean, he was quite fiery, to say the least. But we'll have to talk about that at a later stage, because I just want to touch on President Cyril Ramaphosa. He, of course, delivered a recorded address, and this was the way that it worked, which I suppose worked in his favour because he isn't feeling too well. Do we have any updates as to how the president is feeling?
Well, the president spoke about a need for the world to unite and work together. He delivered a recorded message. You know that the UN this time around has adopted a hybrid model because of COVID-19. You can't have all these leaders there at the United Nations. It is the issue of taking precautionary measures. And therefore his message was quite clear that the world must work together. Yes, we were told that he was not feeling well on Monday. Yesterday, again, they said he's recovering. He was supposed to meet Nehau today. That meeting has been moved to Thursday, if all goes well, according to the minister in the presidency, Jackson Mthembu. But he will continue to participate on the sidelines or the margins of the security of the UN, because we expect the Security Council also to have a meeting. It will be a hybrid model again, and maybe he will participate as a member of the Security Council of South Africa, our term ending in December, but also as the chair of the AU. Therefore, he will continue to do the work, but we are told that he is not well, but he is recovering. We expect him to be back at work on Thursday, but it will depend on the medical team.
Right. We'll leave it there for now. Sophie Mokoena, thanks very much. That, of course, is our foreign editor here. So we did get news this morning that the president is going to be addressing the Human Rights Day celebrations tomorrow. Not Human Rights, the Heritage Day celebrations tomorrow. It'll be a virtual delivery. He will do that address. So in terms of the meeting with Nehau, it's not scheduled for tomorrow. That will happen on Friday. That's what the presidency did say. But I suppose with that public holiday, it's kind of throwing things off a little bit. So we'll keep you updated with news as we get it in.